Well, here we are, live. This is our first episode of Lounge with Legends with your host, Marty Martinez and James Feltz. And this is our very first episode. We're calling this one the episode with two broken Rangers. And so,
speak for yourself.
I'm pretty broke. So what we want to do is I'll kick this off on why Lounge with Legends is there are a lot of podcasts that are out in the cyber world that talk and focus a lot on the post-traumatic stress and a lot of the difficulties that we have when we return from combat. And we say we're counting the narrative, but that's not necessarily in a negative way. What we want to do and what we're going to do with this show as part of Joint Task Force 214 is we're going to celebrate the success that our nation's heroes, the veterans, have had with their success from the military. And so we have Joint Task Force 214. The reason we call it 214 is because the 214 comes once you leave the military. The Department of Defense gives you what's called a DD 214. So Joint Task Force 214 focuses on our veterans that have transitioned from the military and are hoping to become entrepreneurs. And so that's where James and I got started with going, well, there's a lot of stories out there where we can celebrate these successes. So James and I, even though we called it Lounge with Legends, we're not the legends. The legends are the guests that we'll have on the show. We're merely the facilitator for these people, these great legends, to tell and share their story. So we've got a few people that'll, we're already looking. Next week, we have Lauren Michaels Harris. We've got some other great guests. We're going to not let them all out of the bag, but we've got some good people that are going to come on and help celebrate and tell us some funny stories. So the intent on this show is it's going to be a little bit serious, but a little bit funny, just given the name, the one with kind of playing off of Friends a little bit. So we'll see how funny we can keep it. But at that, I will turn it over and let James Feltz, Spartan 6, introduce himself.
Well, hey, Marty, thanks for the introduction. The MOAC, as I like to call him. Anyway, we'll talk about that during the show too. But, hey, look, I'm just excited to be able to join and put this together with Marty. Marty and I go back many years, back in 2nd 325 when we were in 82nd Airborne Division together. And
that 325 for the non-Army people.
The non-Army vets, 325 is the tip of the spear. Oh, just kidding. So 325 is a airborne infantry regiment that's located at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Marty and I both happen to have been in the same battalion, same company at the same time. So that's where our paths initially crossed. And a lot of the stories that we're going to be able to share during this podcast is going to be from those days together. But like Marty said, this isn't about us. And there's a thing that I always said, especially when I was in command, when I was a company commander, I said, hey, look, it's not about me. It never has been and never will be. So this is the same mantra here that we have with this podcast. This show isn't going to be about us because that's not how we roll. How we operate is we like to elevate and collaborate with others and bring their stories to you, because I'm super excited because I know I know the folks that are lined up that's going to be on the show. I'm super excited about what's going to happen, but I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. But Marty, I don't know the flow. If you want to start first with questions, or you want me to go?
Man, if you have some questions ready, let's go ahead. I'm nervous as I say that, but let's go. Real quick. We also have some comments coming in. So I appreciate Mike McCoy, Jay Passion, Jacobs Strickland for tuning in and leaving your comments. Share this on your channels and let's get the word out, brothers, out there. So go ahead, James. Again, I'm really nervous about this, but go ahead.
So this is our beta version, this is our initial show. So we're going to look back on this in years from now, and we're going to just kind of giggle amongst each other. But I tell you what, if you can't have fun with your Ranger buddy, who can you have fun with, right? So what it's about, I guess my first question to Marty is, tell us about your, how did you join the military and why did you join the military?
Yeah. So I joined the military. So I come from a long line of Army. So my grandparents, my grandfathers were both in the military. My dad started in the Marines and then switched over to the Army. Saw the error of his ways, and then I followed suit, and so did my brother. So my brother John's in there, and now my wife is in the Army. So it's kind of the family business. I joined the military because I was in. Honestly, I wasn't really maximizing my time in college nor my parents' dollars. So I was kind of goofing off, and my buddy and I were sitting there talking. He's like, "Well, we've always talked about the military in high school. Let's join." So we joined, and we this is where the recruiter kind of screwed me. That
didn't happen.
No, not at all. The recruiter told me I couldn't go on a Ranger contract. Didn't exist because I wanted to be a Ranger medic. And he said the way it works is that the Rangers will drive up to a TMC, a troop medical clinic or something like that. And they'll be like, "Hey, you smoking, hop in. We're going to the field." And so me, because I wasn't going in with my dad, because I'm not very smart at the time, not much has changed, but I was like, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "But I can get you MP." I was like, "Well, I know enough that I don't want to be an MP. No offense to our MPs out there, but I didn't want to be an MP." But he told me that he could get me airborne infantry. I said, "Well, that's close. I can get there." And he goes, "And from there, then you can get over to Ranger Battalion." And so I did that. But what I didn't realize is he told me that I was going to go airborne infantry at 7th Infantry Division in Fort Ord, California. Some of y'all that know, I'm dating myself by saying that, I know. But those of you that know, there is no airborne out there in Fort Ord at the time. So it wasn't until I got to Fort Benning where they were like, "Hey, doesn't exist." So luckily, that's my first encounter with a true airborne Ranger, where he walks in and he's got the starch and spits and black beret. And I was like, I want to be that guy. So we volunteered and I joined, and that was back in 1992, April 1992. And I haven't turned back since. And then, so after I did my time enlisted, did my time with Ranger Regiment or Ranger Battalion, 1st Ranger Battalion, and then with a long range surveillance unit out of the Texas National Guard, 143rd. Then I became an officer. And that's where this second evolution of my life began, which is where I became an infantry officer in the 82nd Airborne, where I worked for a few months for the best boss ever. No, not James. No, James Phelps. James Phelps was my company XO when I first got to the unit. That's where I met James. I was a second lieutenant butter bar, came in, met him in 82nd Airborne, 2nd Battalion, 305th Airborne Infantry Regiment, the Falcons. So that's how I came in and why I came in. But it was a calling to serve, because it goes all the way back to I didn't feel like I was maximizing my time in college. And so I joined. I have no regrets. After 27 years, I guess my regrets are my knees probably would have wished that I didn't join. But I cannot regret what I've done for our nation around the globe, in Africa, in the Middle East, in Europe, in Central America, in Australia. I mean, we've been all over the world doing things, showing the American flag and doing what our nation's asked of us.
Man, I don't even know how to follow that. Now you guys all know why I call him the MOAC. But we'll like I said, we'll get to that question as far as why folks call him the MOAC. But I tell you what, I've known Marty for several years, and just his knowledge.
Several years. It's been 20 years.
I don't want to talk about that. It puts an age stamp on me, right? I am wearing a BDU sports coat. And you guys might notice, and when I say guys, I mean you all might notice that we're actually wearing suits, and and neither one of us actually have a beard, So we just want to basically show, tell stories from our perspective, and there's not one size that fits all for a veteran. That's the beauty of this whole thing. It doesn't have to be the same story for all of us. And, what I'm excited about with Lounge with Legends is that, yeah, you distracted me with Mike Coy's comment there. Hey, that is the truth. I was a legend of Mike Coy. But anyway, he's doing some great things still in the military. I appreciate your service, brother, and your family's service to the country still. But I tell you, for me, it's the same question that you answered too. For me, it was that I'm a third generation military, right? My grandfather, my grandmother, my uncle, my father, myself were all veterans. And I guess my dad would say I'm the misfit of the group because I actually went into the Army. My dad was Air Force, retired 30 years as an E9, as a Chief Master Sergeant. And he's where I got a lot of my mannerisms and how I knew how I needed to interact with my soldiers. And I say my soldiers because I took ownership to the point where I knew that I felt like we were in a mission together and that we basically, I took pride in whatever unit I was in. So anyway, Marty and I met back at Bravo 2nd 325. Like he said, I was his boss for a brief moment. I still like to remind him of that fun fact. But when it comes to how things have been going for us on the outside since you've retired, when did you retire, Marty?
So my official first day out of the military was 1 November 2020.
So 1 November 2020. What's the date today? Today's the 14th. So yes. You didn't give yourself a break. What were you thinking?
I didn't listen to my mentor who told me that I should follow in his footsteps and take, what he say, 6 months off and play golf. And I probably would have been better for it. But who's got 6 months to? And I saw it as like, who's got 6 months? And now I'm like, you know what? It's okay to take time for yourself and invest in yourself. I'm just a brief side. I always tell everybody, remember to rest. And rest is to read, exercise, sleep, and think. Now, a lot of us veterans, unfortunately, that third one gets to us, sleep. But you got to try to do what you can to do it. But read, exercise, sleep, think, rest. And that's what's going to help you in your mind, body, and spirit.
That's great advice. I could probably use some of that as well. Because, if not all that is in line and you're not doing those things, and you and I've had a discussion about this several times, if you're not completely taking care of yourself to include your health, then the second, third order effects of that is, some of the issues that we're dealing with health-wise. For myself, I ended up rupturing a couple of bicep tendons. That's because I just like to overdo things, I guess. But Marty has been actually giving me some encouragement and words of encouragement to actually get back in it. I'm actually doing the keto diet thanks to Marty. I've actually, not to brag, but I was up to 220 and now I'm at 203. Thank you, Marty, for that motivation. But that's what it's about. When I went into the military, it was about, hey, going in to be a part of something bigger than myself and be a team member, to go in and join a team. And what I found out, I actually left the military active duty a lot sooner than I probably planned initially going in. But I left and went into the National Guard and then reserves. But I can tell you that that void that I had of being on active duty and being able to, pick up the phone and talk to guys like Marty and those folks, it was, I was trying to fill that gap. So, now it's been many, many years later. Marty and I have come full circle, and now we separated. We went on two separate paths, but now we've collided paths again, and now we're working on some stuff together. You want to talk about the JTF 214 stuff by chance?
Yeah, we hit on that a little bit at the beginning, but so obviously Joint Task Force 214 is our opportunity to help veteran entrepreneurs get started. And what we want to do is, unfortunately out there is a lot of vet on vet crime, as we call it, because we are so used to the fraternal brotherhood and sisterhood of wearing the camouflage uniform that we trust one another. And what we found is there's a lot of people that are they're going to rip you off. And so what we want to do is we want to help people that are transitioning from the military into the business world or want to start their own business, find success, and push them to all the free assets that we can help them with first and foremost before we push them to have to open their wallets. And that's kind of if you're an entrepreneur, we're pre-business incubator, business accelerator, but post-TAP transition assistance program kind of where they do that small business boot camp. We're right in between. I like to say what we do is we translate Harvard Business Review and business to grunt. So as you're going through, you're going, oh, that's what they're saying. And so we're gonna offer these services. We've got a webinar coming up, a summit where we're going to talk about how to persuade, how to communicate. And again, the art of persuasion and communication isn't just for entrepreneurs. It's for anybody who's trying to communicate a message, whether it's just a business idea, a pitch, a briefing, whatever it is. Learning the art of communication is huge.
That's to me, that's what it's all about. I guess that's why we're on the same journey. That's the beauty of it too. I was out here kind of wandering, and then here comes Marty on my doorstep again. And then, thanks, not just Marty, but we've had so many other, people that have been involved in the last, 8 months behind the scenes, between, Lauren Michael Harris, giving us the courage to actually come on here and tell our story. I know that you and I had a discussion back when we talked about, joking around about, hey, let's do some type of podcast or some type of show. And then, with Lauren Michael Harris's push, and then, it kind of got us to where we are today. So, there's so many people that's been helping us along the way. And we don't want to focus in on just the negative aspects, but at the same time, we need to use those as experience and tell you basically lessons learned that we have discovered. Marty, he's just recently acquired a company. He probably doesn't want to brag about that, but he acquired a company recently. He's multitasking with his hands in a lot of entrepreneur stuff that he might want to go into. But for myself, I've got the same entrepreneur spirit, but what I'm finding out is we could leverage our relationships and our professionalism together, that we can elevate, collaborate and elevate and basically succeed. So I'm excited about the summit. We got some great people that are going to be on, the subject matter experts. Because I joke around and say, Marty's the MOAC, but at the end of the day, we're going to have some folks on that are some real superstars in their industry. So I can't wait to let that cat out of the bag, but I'm not going to violate any S2. Marty told me I couldn't do that. So I don't know, Marty, you got any questions for me by chance?
I do. So here's my question. I'm catching you off guard because I didn't prep you with this one. So I like
Oh, God, I'm nervous.
But to get into kind of into the mind of James Phelps, what makes you feel inspired or like you're living your best self? What is it that gets you going right now?
For me, waking up in the morning, well, first off, I guess it comes from my experience. I had a great family growing up. And we've always did family events together. We always, I just had the best parents, and they're still the best parents. They still take care of me like I was, a junior high or elementary school person. I am the only child. So that explains a lot, but just being able to have that family atmosphere when I wake up. So when I wake up, the first thing I do is, I'm thankful. My feet hit the ground. I say, hey, thank you, God, for another day. There was a time in my life, and I don't want to be negative, but there was a time where I'd wake up and I just kind of, probably like a lot of veterans out there, I just did not feel complete. I felt half empty. And what I found out was I was putting my priorities in the wrong place. And what I found out is, hey, look, I need to put my family first. It's God, family, country. That's the order of march that it is for me. But if I put my family before my job, it actually helps me. And when right now I'm the current owner of a couple territories in Raleigh, North Carolina for one of my franchises, J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling. I have a real estate license, and I'm with Amy Anderson and Associates for real estate. I'm doing this joint venture with Marty. I'm doing this Lounge with Legends with Marty, and it all comes back to the same thing. It's the advice that my father gave me, and I said this on Lauren Michael Harris's show, he told me when I was a kid, he said, look, two birds of the same feather fly together. And for me, I have to be surrounded by like-minded individuals that are positive, that we could feed off each other and lift each other up and collaborate. So when I wake up, I know that through my businesses, I'm supporting other veterans locally, and that's what it's about. It's never been about me. I give my dad credit for this. He always ingrained in my soul that it's not about you. You're doing it for the greater good and for the others. Now, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect, but I have made a few mistakes along the way. But that's what makes me human. I don't know if I answered your question, Marty, but that's
absolutely. And that kind of leads to another question, which is, okay, so that's what inspires you is your family and your goals. So at this point in your journey, whether it's, and I'll let you pick the journey you want to focus on, whether it's your journey in life and your evolution, or your journey as an entrepreneur, or your journey as a dad, or whatever it is. But at this point in your journey, what are you tired of, and what are you excited about? With the focus being on, if we're tired of, and we're, how do you change that? How do you get better?
So here at the office, I'm into deeds, not words. And what I've run into a lot is folks will tell you what they're going to do. They're going to promise you the world. But when it comes time to deliver, I've seen a couple of them fall short. So around here at the office, we have a culture of, hey, deeds, not words, because we want to act. We want action. We don't want to talk about what we can do. We're going to show you through our actions. We talk about, old school leadership. I'm a big supporter still of FM 22100, be no do leadership. And that's how I that's how I want to live my life. Marty messed me up there. He always giving me hand and arm signals. He was like going like this. But anyway, the be no do leadership, be who you are, know how to do that, and then go out and actually execute. And I won't give you the actual the specifics, but that's the big picture. So really, for me, what motivates me is the ability to have a full cup. And I think Stephen and Lane do a good job with this. Have a full cup. And once your cup is full, that's when you can help others. Right. So anyway, thanks for the question, Marty. You got me off guard. Next time you got to prepare and do a rock drill before we do this.
So he's talking, and he mentioned Stephen and Lane. So he's talking about our good friends, Stephen Kuhn and Lane Balone. They wrote a book last year, great book called The Humble Alpha, Unleash Your Humble Alpha. They're friends of ours with from the Vetrepreneur Tribe and the Warrior Council. There it is. Good friends, great book. And they've even got that as a college course now. So you talk about two retired Army guys that are just knocking it out of the park. And that's our two of our good friends there. So that's who he was talking about with Unleash Your Humble Alpha, Stephen Eugene Kuhn and Lane Balone.
So I'm like the I don't know if you all watch baseball, but I'm like the person that I'm the pitcher that starts the game, and then Marty comes in as a closer. But hey, I'll tell you what about this book. I mean, for me personally, Unleash Your Humble Alpha was a big. It spoke to me personally just because of the fact that I was under a identity crisis and I was putting too much ownership on titles, because at the end of the day, just the titles don't matter, and that's one thing that Marty and I will be able to discuss. But titles are not what makes you. It should be James, then your position, not led by the title, then your name. So I've got several funny stories about how someone led with their title, and therefore I lost total respect for them. But anyway.
Isn't that how you introduced yourself to me when I first got to second of 325?
I did. I said, look, I'm your boss. I'm your boss, and you'll take all commands from the tower. Airbound.
Oh, you just popped in.
Speaking of a second 325 brother, there he is, Casey West. Although he did tell me I was he liked me better than you. That's what he told me.
I'll give you my next question. So of all the PLs that you had that worked for you, who was your favorite and why was it me?
It's a loaded question, Casey. Don't answer it.
But
Oh man, if you haven't been able to tell, Marty and I have a unique relationship. It's kind of, we can joke around with each other at the same time because we have thick skin, and it's just he could probably finish my sentence. Well, matter of fact, he can finish all my sentences before I finish them, and hence that's why he's the Moac. But hey Marty, you asked me a question. Let me ask you a question.
Casey agrees with you. That was a loaded question.
It was, because he knows the answer. He knows the truth. Airborne.
Best scout PL right here.
Yeah. Well, he left and then you came to Scouts. So actually, he told me Scouts actually went down a notch when you showed up. Anyway, what makes you feel inspired in life? What inspires Marty? What's the thing that motivates Marty, that inspires you? What makes you get up in the morning, besides making fun of me? What's the thing that really inspires you every morning?
So I think that is a question of timing. And what I mean is, as a young man, what inspired me was living life to the fullest, being the best Army Ranger, platoon leader, infantry leader I could. And at that point, it sounds great and all, but at that point, it was very inward facing. It was very much about me. As I got further along in life and as I climbed the ranks, I realized what inspired me actually became more about my mission as an officer and the planning that we did for missions in Africa, the Middle East, and whatever. So, because I knew that there were more lives at stake and what we could do. And that was my inspiration. And then I met my beautiful wife and we had children. And now what inspires me is trying every day to be the person today that I want them to be tomorrow. And that's the hardest challenge that I've ever given myself, because it takes a lot of work to do that. And so we were on a call the other day, and they were kind of giggling because I messed something. Oh, I messed up a Zoom call, and James is on the line, and we had like 70 people. And I said, "Oh, this isn't coming up. What the monkeys?" And they said, "Whoa, that's an Army Ranger that just said, 'What the monkeys?'" And I was like, well, I have a 2-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I make sure that I don't curse in front of them. And that's part of that, trying to be the example for them, to be the person today that I want them to be tomorrow. So that's what inspires me now. Does that answer the question?
It does. I mean, I think we're both on the same sheet of music when it comes to that. Our families are really a big part of our decision-making process and what inspires us now. There was a time in my life where that was not the case. And I'll tell you, what changed that was an 18-month deployment to Iraq, right? Or 18 up, a ramp up. Then we went to Iraq, and it ended up being 18 months away from my daughter. And I tell you, that was some difficult times. And, now that this fun fact that you're now a dependent, how do you see, what's the difference in perspective from from when you were actually tip of the spear and now you're the dependent? What do you think is the view change from that perspective?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's so what James is talking about is up until again 1 November, I was a dual military couple, meaning my wife and I were both active duty military with kids, which is one of the biggest challenges in the Army, is trying to marry up our PCS, or permanent change of station cycle. So how do we move? And because she's a veterinary doctor and I was in a small field of modeling and simulations, about 400 to 500 people in each field, how do we marry that up in all the assignments? But even then, it was still kind of about me and my mission to support Army Europe, Army Africa, ARCENT, all these other organizations. But now, since I've retired, my wife is still in the Army. So I'm fully on board with supporting her so that she can be as successful as possible, because especially right now, because she is in command, and I want her to be the best commander that she can be. not for her, but for her soldiers, for those soldiers that are in her command, because that's still our nation's military. And so by me supporting her, I'm supporting them. And it's now she needs to go somewhere. Absolutely. You go. I got the kids. I'll follow this. I'm trying to do this as much as I can, but it's very much, it's a paradigm shift. The mind has to stop and pivot, but it hasn't, hanging up the suit, the camouflage suit and putting on these actually, I think, help me with the transition.
So Marty's being humble. So my question is, when are you going to take over the FRG group? Because here's the thing about Marty. When Marty, what's that?
She won't let me.
If you don't know what the FRG group is, Family Readiness Group for the unit. So she won't let you? I can't believe that.
Her and her first sergeant said I'd probably have them out there in formation. They're trying to do PT and pull-ups instead of teas and coffees. But
well, the one thing about Marty, and I can, I like to boast about him because he won't do it for himself. But the thing about Marty, when he comes into the room, okay, when he walks into a room, you have those individuals that you look to for leadership. So, and they have this presence, command presence when they walk into the room. Well, Marty has that. And I'm bragging a little bit, we're doing this podcast, but when we get back to live events and in person, you guys will be able to experience that firsthand. So, when there's, Marty's been able to inspire folks to do some very special things. And, we were talking about veteran businesses and everything else. You want to tell what is that you have there in your pocket on your jacket? Where'd you get that?
So this is Pocket Square Heroes. It's a bronze star, and so this is in the same colors and everything of a bronze star medal, and it's from a fellow veteran-owned company of Pocket Square Heroes. You can go to pocketsquareheroes.com. And I wear these. I've got a number of these I wear, and it shows the service. I like it because it shows the service, but it's a conversation starter, especially here in DC. You walk into a room, and you can look around the room, and James mentioned it before. The brotherhood, the sisterhood, the family. Seeing this, there's a friendly in the room, and you can walk up and go, "Where'd you get your bronze star at?" Oh, I got this one. Well, this one I got an OIF1 when I was blah, 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 blah. And so it's interesting, Well,
I just like it too. You're supporting a veteran business. So, I mean, to me, if you could support a good veteran business that has a great message, and then we can, collaborate and, give each other, business, why not? That's the thing that I think that this is going to be great, because we're going to actually be able to, to introduce you to these folks that have started these businesses. Speaking of businesses, do you want to even mention your new acquisition, or you don't want to talk about that? What's your thoughts on that?
So here's what I want to do. We'll talk about the acquisition after we cut to commercial. So we'll start with the acquisition.
What was that?
Which one?
What was that acquisition? What was those things? Is that kinetic tape? What was that?
No, those are Footies, and so we basically just acquired Footies, and Footies are great. It allows you to free yourself from foot coffins, and it's okay. My little helper can't find him. I was going to pull it up here, but it's a
Tell me what it looks like.
it's a Footies baby doll.
No.
Oh,
You didn't give a block of instruction on what company you acquired from to your
you know
daughter?
what Footies are. She loves Footies. So, anyways, Footies go on your feet. They're antimicrobial, anti-skid, great for not burning your toes, for helping you out when you're in the gym and keeping you barefoot and your feet clean, especially now where there's all the bacteria everywhere and you're putting it all in. And what I love about them, the reason I wanted this company is because I'm barefoot a lot, but I wear flip-flops. But there's a lot of times, think about when you're at the beach and you walk up to the bar and you sit up in your chair, first thing you do, you kick off your flip-flops. And here you still have something on your feet. And if you want to get up and run over and go grab your burger from the window or whatever, depending where you're at, you don't have to put the flip-flops on. You got your Footies right there. They're on your feet, and they're great in the pool and the beach. And as I acquired this, I said, you know what? I'm going to need help. And so I built what I consider my A team. I acquired this from Nat Durant, my buddy, my brother. He's still on the team. I brought on James Feltz. He's the operations guy. He's kind of the B.A. Baracus. Maybe he's a Murdoch. I'm not really sure yet. I brought on Justin. Justin's going to be on the show. He's one of our future guests. He's working. He's the mastermind behind all the ads and the search engine optimization. And then we got on Ryan Hunt, who's our e-commerce guy. And so big names in the veteranpreneur space. And I'm not name dropping on who my partners are, but it's still about that veteran brotherhood. And now you get to pick your fire team that you want to go forward with. And that was, so that's our thing with Footies.
You know, I think the greatest thing about what you just mentioned there is, I think we're stronger as a team than we are as individuals. And everyone that you just mentioned, I'm honored to even be on the same team with them. It's kind of amazing. Ryan's doing some amazing things with Mountain Up, and if you don't know what that is, we need to, I don't have a hat on. Marty won't let me wear a hat for the podcast. So I won't have a hat on at all ever during the podcast. So I've got the comb over from I call it I guess I'm a little bit older, so I'm going to call this the New Kids on the Block flare over. And that's what we're going with, but no hat. But, Ryan has some great hats he does that we always rock, and it's We the People hat. But that team there, I'm really excited. And I'm glad, Marty, that you brought us aboard and that you trusted us enough to put this together. Is there any events? What's the event? Can you tell me about the event that we're going to go into here shortly?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, I don't want to promote us too much. So
it's the only time you can do it, because next time, from here on out, from eternity, we're not allowed to talk about ourselves. We're talking about the legends that come in.
So what we've got, if you are in the DMV, DC, Virginia, Maryland area, at Fort Belvoir, we are going to be with Donnell Johns over with Veterans Grow Virginia, Veterans Grow America, and the Rosie Network. We'll be at AFES with Fort Belvoir, Saturday, May 1st, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. James, if you want to put a banner on that, we'll be at Fort Belvoir selling Footies with some other great vendors out there. Everyone's veteran-owned, small businesses. I know my wife is excited, not that Footies is going to be there, but because the popcorn guy is going to be there. And so, James, you're gonna have to see this, man. The popcorn guy, he's a Navy vet. Dude is killing the game. I forget his name, but Popcorn Factory, that's what they are. They have got some of the most unique flavors, and they've got like cotton candy popcorn, and all this random stuff, and it's so it's pretty neat. So that'll be May 1st. That's going to be our first big event that'll be live, and we'll have Footies on display, get in the tent, the table, and all that.
I'm excited about the event. That's some good stuff. I mean, there's going to be some great vendors there as far as veteran vendors. One of our old buddies from back in the many moons ago is going to be there with Triple Nickel, Ruben Ayala. He's going to be there. I don't know if you saw that post. So we get to link up with him and his team. maybe we could do some collaboration. I know they are doing some great things in the clothing line as well. Because I don't know if you all follow their story, but they basically have taken a different approach to how veterans dress, and they're basically saying, hey, veterans don't all have the tactical 511 pants on with the subdued Velcroed hat on. So if you're looking for some good merchandise that's veteran owned and operated that's actually very stylish, you could check out the Triple Nickel guys. And I'm excited about that whole event. We also are going to bring, and I don't know if I told you this, but going to bring Jake Strickland from Grunt Media Solutions. So he's going to be there to be able to film the event. We'll be able to air that at some point. I'm going to try to talk Jake into being a sponsor for the Lounge with Legends. As you can see going across the screen, hey, look, if you guys, if you know someone that would benefit from watching us in the future, please tag them, get them to join us on Joint Task Force 214 for the coaching and mentorship, and also join us on social media for Lounge with Legends for this show, because this is going to be huge. I mean, right now we're streaming on. You can watch us on a Roku device, Apple was it Amazon Fire Stick. You can log in on your computer, type in E360 Legends Lounge. But there's some amazing things and opportunities that are that are basically falling in our lap and that we're blessed for.
Right. James, I'm going to switch out your ticker. There it is. That's our information. Fort Belvoir, Virginia, 1 May. Sorry, I put military time. I just realized that. I haven't switched completely. That's at 6 p.m. on 1 May. But
so basically be at Fort Belvoir at 09-1800 to come check us out. We'll be wearing some footies.
So James, let's talk about your media. Let's talk about that media company real quick.
Okay.
What's the? I'm trying to think. What is the? What's the best part about the media company from your perspective of sharing your message and others with you now that you've got a little bit more control on a media production and helping people?
So I'll tell you, for the media aspect of it, with my franchise that I own, I was running into wanting to create my own brand contented material. And instead of actually having to pay to get that material, I said, what if I had an opportunity to actually establish my own media solution? And I'm very religious. My parents were Baptist, and I consider myself Baptist as well. And I prayed about it, and lo and behold, the first person that did any video for us was Jake Strickland. We met each other at the Army Reserve Center. He worked here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it just so happens we were both 82nd paratroopers together. Because here's the thing about the 82nd, if you don't know, if you're an 82nd paratrooper, it doesn't matter if you're 100 or 105. We were in the unit together, and that's the beauty of this whole thing. But Jake and I, we discussed, hey, look, in the future, this is 3 years ago now. He's like, I'd love to, start a business when I get out of the military. And basically he ended up getting out of the military, and he had a stint with the law enforcement. And he said, this isn't what's making me happy. And he approached me, said, hey, is there anything that we could do together, you think? And then this is when the opportunity came. I said, hey, look, let's start a business together. And really, that's what it's about. I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Small's person-centered thinking. But anyway, I said, hey, look, let's do something together. Let's team up. Let's make it your business. Let's grow your business. And then eventually I'll be out of your business. And if you look at anything that I'm doing right now, I'm collaborating with other veterans to grow their businesses together. And then eventually I want them to be successful. And then I can take a step out gracefully and let them have their own business and opportunity. So it goes back to what I was telling you earlier about, you need to have a full cup before you can share with others. I feel like my cup is almost full. I'm kind of taking some risks, but at the same time, I said, I can leverage multiple families and help, multiple families by acquiring this company. So that's why we've got Grunt Media Solutions.
No, that's awesome. I I was excited when you mentioned that and helping out another vet, and especially a Falcon on that one. That's pretty neat, and we're looking forward to having Jake up there capturing some of that and helping Donnell out with some of the Veterans Go Virginia media stuff as well. So
Marty, we got enough, and this might come across as a harsh statement, but we have enough individuals out here that if we came together collectively as veterans to support one another, we could actually do some serious work. And, I'm glad that you mentioned him, because we'll be out there. He'll be out there. We can help however we can with your social media. Marty has some great knowledge, but I mean, it's just about the teamwork. And that's what we missed when we got out of the military, the camaraderie and the esprit de corps. So why can we not have that again? And that's what we're trying to establish.
Right. So Jay, I'm gonna bring it back to the questions. And so this is one that you often hear on podcasts, but I'm going to put a military flair on the twist on it, which is most influential person that you've had in your life. But the twist on it is the most influential military leader that you've had that have worked with you in your life.
Outside my family, correct?
Outside your family.
Okay. For me, it's really simple. There was this gentleman by the name of John. What's that?
Besides me.
Well, I can't. I said gentleman, so that should have disqualified you, right? But for me, it's pretty simple. It's real simple. Outside of my family, direct immediate my family, it would have to be Master Sergeant retired John Tory. What happened was I was trying to join Air Force ROTC, to be honest. And the year that I applied, there was too many AFLQT applicants that took the test, the AFLQT exam. So I took the examination. I was not selected. And basically, as I was walking out with my head down and kind of depressed, I heard this voice. And if you know John Tory, you've heard his voice before. It was like, "Come here, Gabon." I was like that. And he said, "Want to join the Army." Next thing I know, I'm going to basic camp in Fort Knox, Kentucky. I'm signing up I've already graduated college here. Let's just go be clear. So I graduated, and he talked me into staying in college for an additional 2 years so I could get my commission. So he actually helped me out. But John Tory, as far as a leadership mentor guy, to this day, if I give him a call, he'll help me to this day. So thank you, Master Sergeant Tory, for taking care of me many moons ago. But that's the guy that's helped me.
That's awesome. And after I posed that to you, I started thinking, shoot, who's my most influential?
But besides me?
Besides you, of course.
Okay. Because you said that it could be a boss. So I was technically your boss. So I could be the one that you want to pick.
True. But
okay.
You know this person. And I think for me, it'd be Tom Joquet. And so at the time, it was the Bravo company commander. And the reason that I say is Tom Joquet, who's actually still a colonel. He's a colonel.
I think he told me I was a better second lieutenant than you.
And that's what it was. That's exactly why I say him. That was because I remember, and James, I don't know if you remember this, but I was still a second lieutenant. And then I brought everyone into his office, closed the door, and I told him, with all the other lieutenants, "Hey, you need to let go of the bit because I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding here." And he was just like, "What the heck?" A second lieutenant coming in the commander's office and saying this. And rather than squat thrusting me into a coma, he took the feedback like, "Wow, that takes some cojones to come in and do that." But then I laid out the argument of what we needed to do and how we could make it better. And what that allowed me to see is that a good leader takes feedback from his subordinates or her subordinates, as long as there's a reason behind it and it's not just complaining. There's an end state. There's a reason why they're saying it. They're coming together and they have a solution, so that it's not just complaining. And there's other reasons why. I mean, he was a inspiration as we went through into, I think it was the HHC commander by the time we did the initial invasion into Iraq, and watching him handle, all of that complexity on the battlefield of kind of supporting the entire battalion. Unenviable job being an XO, one of which I was, but also the HHC commander at the time. And so
I think that's a great person to, I mean, that's it just so happens we know him. We both know that individual. And I tell you, the thing that is funny about this, the rest of the story, I can remember him pulling me aside, said, "Can you believe that lieutenant said that to me?" So anyway, I got the back end story. But the thing about the captain, I could still call him Captain Jerkay, but the thing I remember most about him was he was a true person that cared about his soldiers, and we were his soldiers. He came down to my promotion, and I actually probably offended my the chain of command that I actually had, but I don't know if you remember this. He actually came down and promoted me to captain.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. So, the thing about it was I wanted to be surrounded by my peers and my family. And at that time, even though I had left the unit, that was my family. And that meant a lot to me that he showed up. You guys brought the cake. I mean, you guys, if you guys weren't present, that event would not have gone as great as it was. I still remember it like it was yesterday. But, that's, the thing that you mentioned about leadership and, those things and being able to take criticism, I think that's one of the things that we could actually leverage outside here in the business world. Sometimes we because, and I'm speaking for you, Marty, but, when I was a second lieutenant, Ranger qualified, 82nd Airborne, rifle platoon leader, paratrooper, you couldn't tell me anything. I thought I could go through a steel wall. And looking back on that mindset, I still had to be humbled by, good platoon sergeants. And I look at us as kind of like the old school NCOs that can guide you through this entrepreneurship journey, from a perspective of, hey, we've been lieutenants. We know how it feels to think that you know everything. You don't. And that's kind of how we can handle it with the business aspect. So I think that we can leverage those relationships, the experiences that we have in business, and we're going to be able to make a big wave. It might be in a pond, but we're going to make a wave, man. All
right, James, we've got like a few minutes left.
What do you want to talk about?
A few minutes left before we have to end the show. And episode 1 will be in the can. So time to the parting question, the signature question. What does freedom mean to you?
You going first or me?
No, that was you. You go first. I'm still thinking of the answer.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Freedom for me is the ability to wake up, make decisions. To me, it goes back to your answer that you had earlier. Freedom for me is the ability to wake up, enjoy life with my family, and not worry about just the things that are not important. The freedom to wake up, have a job, have a business, drop my daughters off at school, just the freedom to choose, and that's what freedom is. It's a choice. And, I'm thankful I'm no longer in. I've actually retired for the military fully in January 2020. But, during this pandemic and COVID, I'd say that freedom, we still had that freedom. We just could not go out and be social, and we're still going through that. But really, freedom is all about choice. If you have a choice, then you're free to make that decision, whatever it is.
I like that.
Thanks. I just came up with that because you shotgunned me, and I wasn't ready for that, man. Next time I'm giving you that question first.
And I'm going to answer it now. I mean, I told James, every time we have a guest on the show, I want that to be our signature question, because the reason we serve our great nation is to provide freedoms. And as corny as it sounds, and when people ask me what I did, I always said, I serve in your army. And it's not the army, it's your army, because our citizens, they're our taxpayers, they pay our bill, and we we do what we do so that America retains the freedoms that we have to gather, to speak our voice, to disagree, all the things that we're doing now, that's why we're here. And so those are the freedoms, the freedom of choice, freedom of living, freedom to voice your opinion without, as much as possible, without fear of retribution. And having been around the world and where we were at, not everybody has that. I may not agree with a bunch of the stuff that people are saying out there. I'm not trying to turn this political, but there's a lot of things on both sides of the fence where I'm like, well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that guy over there either. But the fact that they have the freedoms to do that, that is what makes this country, and that's what makes our service to our nation so valuable. And that's why I thank every veteran for their service. And every time that they say I'm a veteran, I say, well, thank you for your service. And it's as cliche as it sounds, I really do thank you for your service. And thank you for what you have dedicated, because the freedom isn't free. We say that, and it's not just a catchy bumper sticker or slogan. There are a lot of things that people have had to miss out. James mentioned missing out on his daughter's a portion of their life. I missed out on a number of my daughter's birthdays or my deployments. So have all the others. And so that's part of the sacrifices that we willingly make for our great nation. And that's what freedom means to me.
Well, I'm going to give you a salute on that because I thank you for your service. I appreciate everyone that's watched today, because I tell you what, if it wasn't for our sponsors, we wouldn't be able to have the show. Thanks Footies for being a sponsor, J-Dog Raleigh, JTF 214. I'm super excited about the future. Come join us, man. Come join us on Wednesdays at noon. Come join us, see what we're about, see especially what your heroes are about.
Hey, James, I also want to thank E360 TV, Aaron and the team over there for having us on. Lauren Michaels Harris helped us get this together. He said they've got a brand new business channel, which we're on, and filling the veteran space. So go on there, go on E360 TV, give them a like, download the app, and start watching all the different people. We got Diane Forster. She's a great coach. We met her through Lauren, and now we're in different groups with her. She's got, I can't remember the name of her show right now. Oh, put myself on the spot. I'll find out. But she's on there. I'll tag in the comments. Lauren's on there with Bathrobe Moments. There's a whole bunch of them. Like James said, you can find it on Apple TV, Roku, et cetera, et cetera. I'm actually going to end this, James, unless you have any parting shots.
No, I'm good. I salute you for your service. It was great being here with you and sharing an hour with you. All
right, I'm going to end this with the E360, where you can find out more about how to find more great channels like this one. Give us a like on Facebook, social media. We'll get this up on YouTube, and follow us. All right. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.